like to move on to reliability and improving uptime using latest technology, namely artificial intelligence. So we are very happy to welcome on stage Stefan Herr, CEO of Evercharge, and he will be talking about why your business case would love to end charger angst. And I guess he's going to talk about how Evercharge will help you to improve your uptime. So, welcome, Stefan. Alle Konferenzen.
So, good morning and welcome, and thank you, Hannah, for that nice introduction. I mean, the party was pretty nice tonight. Haven't it a nice party? And also thank you to Christian and the whole team for making this happen. I think it's always special to have that kind of interconnection. But let's start and first introduce myself. That's not working? No. Thanks. My name is Stefan Herr, and when I started in e-mobility, the landscape looks really quite different. I was involved in 2009 in the development of the first AC charge point, and we have been so proud to put it on the road. Today, I'm the CEO of Evercharge, and my mission is that people can rely on charging session, and I mean every charging session. For you, today, there's absolutely nothing to do. If you want to have the presentation, just reach us out, and we are also happy to guide you through the details. Should I use the microphone? Yeah? You can just visit us on our booth. Since the last ICNC, a lot has happened, and we have been here the first time. And with a lot of happened, I mean the sheer boost of building up charging infrastructure. And I think that is really a great achievement for every CPO and hardware manufacturer. And it's also a huge step for the entire industry. But it also means a large infrastructure is better for all our customers. And however, I would like to quote a superhero who said something like, "With great network comes great responsibility." And he said something like this. I do not remember exactly, maybe I'm wrong. But honestly, with great networks, however, I ask what are the side effects of this? And generally, more infrastructure means more things can go wrong. And that's even more true if you have more than one supplier. And on the other hand, we are in the room are all experienced drivers, and we are really so happy about new technology that we're taking compromises in service availability and all that stuff. But average Joe does not accept any inconvenience. He just wants to drive. And things has to work. And on the other hand, more infrastructure, or when you double your infrastructure, you have to double your team side. And that is difficult from the business point perspective, as we know that 20 to 30% of the costs are related to operations. So that means that's no wonder that availability is one of the hottest topics in the industry at the moment. You can expect the following in the presentation. First, is the charger angst actually real? So what are drivers are thinking at the moment? And is data the problem or the solution? So how is data linked to availability? And at the end, your business case will love the end of the charger angst. I will focus today on my thoughts, what I think, because you are all experts in the room, and that might be your expectation. At the end, I will talk a little bit about Evercharge. Always when I talk about availability, I remember one phrase of Adam Woolway, the founder of Plug Serving, who brought it really to the point. Adam said charging has to become boring. And he's absolutely right. Yes, so boring that it just works. And it's something natural. But the reality looks different. And our future customers, they use our infrastructure, have too many concerns at the moment. First of all, it's range anxiety. But it's disappearing compared to last year, and no wonder, because we have in all segments cars available with enough range. And the second thing is availability of public charger. So charge anxiety, and that is increasing. So we can now ask, let's reflect that a little bit and ask ourselves, I mean, is it that people do not know what they're talking about before they're driving electric? Or is it some irrational fear? Let's change the perspective and have a look at the people who drives electric. What is different? And we see that only 13% have no problem at all. Only 13%. It's like with your iPhone, or all the iPhone users can just do 10% proper calls. And the most frequent reasons are starting the session, it's charging performance, and unsuccessful sessions. And that is quite a lot, and it's really quite shocking me that so many people have a bad customer experience. Let's again change the perspective and ask, what is the problem, and how looks it on the CPO side? What's about uptime? We analyzed the uptime among selected DOs across Europe. And we focused on DC because of the high investments and revenue streams are key. That doesn't look too bad, does it? So what is the point where all the drivers talking about? So who is right now, the CPO or the EV driver? Maybe you have experienced something similar. And uptime does not equal availability. What really counts are successful charging sessions. And on the left-hand side, you see a P3 test drives in Europe, across Europe, with 5,000 charging sessions. And on the right-hand side, you see our values before customers start using Evercharge. So more than 20% have not having successful charging sessions. So every fourth charging session is not successful. And I think that should be enough motivation to improve. Anyhow, what is the alternative? And the situation is like that. You don't have so many chances to win or lose a customer and to secure your uptime. You have just one. And there is no alternative, and that should be enough motivation to improve. Another thing is that today the customer has a choice which CPOs he's gonna take. And he will have even more choices in the future. You are all experienced drivers, and I would like to have some first-hand experience from you. And we do a body poll action. I will ask 3 questions, and please raise your hand if that's a criteria for you. You can raise your hands multiple ways for the questions, by the way. So first question is, do you choose a CPO because of kilowatt hours? I will count to 3, and then please raise your hand. So do you choose a CPO because of the kilowatt hour price? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's not much, that's 1/3. Maybe a lot of company cars here. And the second question is, do you choose your CPO because of reliability? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's nearly half or more than half of the of the audience? And do you choose a CPO because of charging power? So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So maybe also half of it. So that is the view of very experienced drivers. But what is about average Joe? So average Joe, first criteria is price, with more than 70%. And the second criteria is reliability. It's 66%, and half of the customer choose it with charging power. And for me, it's the same. I have a similar experience when I drive electric. I try to take the CPOs where I can rely on and try to leave others out. And that brings me back to the title of my keynote. Without reliability, you cannot secure your utilization, and that may lead to insufficient earnings. So now, like to always, what to do now? And like always, we ask us the question what to improve, or can we change the way of working? And from our perspective, there are two overarching topics which are the basis for a successful operations. And we know that leading CPOs have taken this way or will take this. And there are two things. First of all, it's data. Data you need to know what is going on in your business. And the second thing is making sense out of the pile of data, intelligence. And we know that I know that there are 100 topics we have to solve in the industry, but for infrastructure business, this is key. Let's start with the data. You might say, okay, well, what's so special about it? And I have it already stored in my system. And when we talk about data, that is linked in three ways. And for us, it was pretty helpful to ask us three questions when we started. First is data sources. So what do you need for your charging business or charging operations? Is it OCPP data? Is it SIM card information? Is it ticket information? What is it? And data access. Have you stored it in your own system? Or is it stored somewhere else in a third-party system where you have to ask for permission? And third is data purpose. So what is the case you want to solve, or what is the economic value out of this? And just to make an example, if you want to solve connectivity issues, you need data from the SIM card, from the router, from the charger, and from the backend to have a full picture on that. And data are relevant not only for operations, but also to enable other use cases. And we know some CPOs in the room have done their homework. And let's have a short look at other industries that have solved all that questions. And they are able to have new use cases or try to other solutions like in the medical sector. That means if you want to improve the health of your charging stations, you need data. Second thing is, let's assume you have the data on your fingertips. How do you now improve availability? And there have been clever ways to combine it. And that is the starting point where we started looking at AI a couple of years ago. And an HPC charger is producing 600 data sets a day. That means when you have to manage an infrastructure of 500 charge points, you have 10 million data sets. And now it's getting tricky, and Excel will not solve the problem. And when we look at the data level of incidents, it's more than just a single error code. And there are at least three dimensions what a fault may be. It could be the sheer quantity, it could be hardware specific, or it could be a combination of all of this. And then it's getting complex. And it's getting even worse because the combinations are endless. And that's the reason why AI can help in this case. AI is a buzzword nowadays, but especially for e-mobility, machine learning and neural networks helps. And that's more than just creating nice cat pictures. And in addition, the speed of the development of the AI technology is incredible. And when we look at, for example, language model, how they have evolved the last 24 months, they are such a high level that they could replace, for instance, hotlines. And the use cases or the application for use cases are also improving. So that's clear for which use cases AI will have a real impact. And coming back to the e-mobility business, we think we're not replacing manpower, but we are able to manage increased infrastructure with the same amount of people. So where AI can really help, and that's three cases. That's a statistical pattern recognition, so that you just get it amount of the data. It's a context-based pattern recognition, so patterns that are caused by different events, and you can also use for prediction of failures, and it's a decision making. So that the AI or the machine decides what actions to be taken. And compared to the public available AIs like ChatGPT is, the AI has to be trained with non-public data. And to make it simple, to unlock the full potential, you have to train the AI with your own data. And that we have done. We have trained the AI with more than 30,000 charge points. And I brought two examples to Berlin to see the effects of AI. At this picture, you see an AC charger, and you see it in our so-called timeline view. It's an AC charger somewhere in May. You see at the beginning the purple columns that are regular charging sessions. And at some points, there are no regular charging sessions anymore. There's obviously no error and no downtime. And these cases are normally so hard to detect when you're not sitting in front of one charge point the whole day. And how could AI help? The AI learned what is the usual behavior over weeks per outlet. And every deviation of that usual behavior, our so-called charging model indicates. And again, these cases are normally under the radar. And that is also what customer tells us. And last week we onboarded a new customer, and we found 3 of these cases where they're really wondering why there's no sessions in 3 weeks. The reason for that, by the way, has been a buggy firmware. The next example is a DC charger, and when we look at the picture at the right-hand side, it looks a little bit shocking because parts of the housing are destroyed. What happens? On the 7th of June, the customer reports an issue. 1 week later, a service technician has been sent out. But the most interesting thing is that our AI detects it 4 days before the customer reports it based on the OCPP communication. And you have enough time to take actions and solve that issue. And now I'm coming to the end of my story. How does all that fancy technology is impacting the business case? And just go back to that 80%. Only 80% of the charging sessions are successful, and there is enough room for improvement. And every percentage counts. And depending on the average network size and your utilization, you can increase your gross margin by 700 to 1K to 1 million euros per year per percentage. And we are also happy on the right-hand side that we have a customer where we increase the successful charging sessions together to 92%. Our vision is to make charging network availability the new normal. And every customer deserves to have a successful charging sessions. And we want to bring operations to the next level. And we are not on CPS, we are not replacing a CPS, we are an add-on to a CPMS. We like an energy drink for more efficiency and for higher reliability. We are basically doing 4 things. We identify and uniform failure information. We all know failures from different hardware manufacturers are not meaning the same. And we present it in a graphical way and easy understandable so that you see the condition of the charger right away without reading code. Second is evaluation, how to connect the dots and pieces. With traditional solutions, you have to go through the code to get out the essence of it. We use machine learning to give data a meaning. And that is what you have seen in the example with the AC charger. And the even cooler thing is we can predict outages up to 1 week in advance. How nice is that if you know it before the customer knows it? And we have accuracy of 40 to 50% 2 days in advance, which is pretty good when you compare to things could happen suddenly. And we have healing automation. And we do it 1,000 times a month with great success. And that is something you do not have to do any manual anymore. And we also automated the ticket generation. So that means we all know how painful it is to create tickets, and we also know that's the quality of the tickets. We have 4 products in our lineup. Every product has been tailored specifically for the needs of CPOs, manufacturers, and CPMS. We have announced 2 new products, a board start and a board factory. Please reach us out if you want to have more details. And now I'm coming to my end. My closing words. We can end charger angst via measuring the real availability with successful charging sessions, via efficient operations leveraging the needs of the data, and via AI for detecting things faster and detect new ones also quicker. And we as Evercharge contribute our part to it. Thank you for listening to a presentation. Let's end the charger angst together. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Stefan. I have to ask a question immediately. So I give everyone a second to think. So how much data do you need for one charge point to be able to predict anything? Do you need historic data? And how much sort of benchmark data do you need where you actually also know what the reason was?
That depends on the model. The machine learning model, we need just data for 2 weeks for one outlet to make that is learned what is the usual behavior of the charge point. Other models, we need about a sample of 50 chargers. The more is always in AI, the more is better.
Also, the usual pattern, if you have anything unusual in those 2 weeks, then yeah. Anyhow, I'm looking at the audience. Good morning. It's great to see that rows are really full now. Everyone has woken up. Any questions for Stefan? If not, I continue.
You have a question?
I have lots of questions. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into the reasons why charging sessions fail? I guess there's like software, and then as you said, uptime is not availability. Maybe you can also give a little bit of an insight into that gap.
So the most common issues are connectivity issues. That is quite common. And it's also some hardware-related things like cable error, meter errors, power stack errors. That are the most frequent errors we say, and that can also pretty good predict.
Connectivity is sort of
so connectivity that the charger is sending some information.
Yeah,
that
not
can be,
physical.
Not physical, that the charger is online, that could be router things, that could be SIM card things, and that could be connection to back-end things, all that stuff. Yeah.
Now, you were saying that 2 weeks of data would be enough to make a model for an outlet, what prevents a charge point operator to do it himself?
Well, I talk to many people, and the thing is, you need the more data you have, the better. And I know in the room there are a lot of CPOs who have a data analyst, or they have two. And they are doing some KPIs, but mostly, so KPIs which are relevant for your operations. But to set up the model, to do all the pipelining out of the data, that's quite an effort, and that you're not doing with one data analyst in half a year. So setting up the model, train the model, validate the model, there's a lot of experience because we establish the models on our own, and that takes a while.
How much of the, how many of the failed or predictions where you think something is wrong at a charge point can you actually remotely resolve? And like, how many times do you have to send someone out in the field because you showed that picture? And where's Evercharge sort of moving? Are you also helping with that maintenance stuff?
That really depends on the issue we have. We know that with restarts, there's not only a sustainable solution inside, and there's a lot of reasons, but we do something like a painkiller with our restart. It not always cure, but it gives you peace in mind. And so coming back to your question, how successful are restarts? For example, in connectivity issue, when we have a successful restarts, we have success rates of 70%. That's just one example, and it really depends on the event we trigger a restart, how it's successful. For some, it's super successful, and for some, it could help, but not because of the reason that's not sustainable. Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience? There's one over there.
Hey, Stefan.
Hi.
You explained that your model is mainly connected to internal data sources, the CPMS system, hardware, etc. Do you also have a chance to connect it to external data sources? So, for instance, customer reviews on Google or new competitors coming up in a certain region, which also will have a big impact on customer behavior and charging success.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and you're absolutely right. The more data sources you have, the better. I started to focus at the moment specifically on hardware, but I'm open to integrate data from cars, public data, all that stuff, sensor data. Every data source helps to do a better prediction. But I started with really focusing what is going on at the charge point.
Yeah, thank you so much. Stefan, I think we have to call it a day. We've run out of time. You will be around. If more questions come up, please feel free to approach Stefan. And this is your applause now. Thank you.
Thank you.